Welcome to the Antonio Parkinson Project. I am Antonio Parkinson, and today on the show, we have State Representative Gloria Johnson, who is running for U.S. Senate in Tennessee against Marsha Blackburn. So don't go anywhere. Hit that subscribe button. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Antonio Parkinson Project. I am Antonio Parkinson, and you are watching the fastest growing visual podcast in the Memphis market. Let's give it up for that. Numbers, man, numbers. Yeah, man, that 2.2 million on YouTube the other day, man, just made me feel real good.
How'd you feel deep down?
I felt really, really good because
was you a proud daddy?
I was a proud daddy.
Oh,
yeah, but you think about it, right? We've been doing this. We started in February, didn't know what the hell we were doing, honestly, and we just built it from there. And now, we are over 5 million views in the aggregate across all of our social media platforms. And that is just absolutely amazing. But we had a vision, though, right, Angelika?
We did have a vision.
Lovely co-host in the building. Give it up for Angelika Geli Woods in the building.
I'm here on a Tuesday.
Right,
I wish it was Friday, but I'm excited about our guest, though.
On a Tuesday.
Tuesday
right,
today.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, and so y'all also, that's my DJ. He is DJ Kojak. Give it up for DJ Kojak in the building.
Yeah.
Hey, DJ Kojak, scratch it up 4 times for the next U.S. Senator. Scratch it up.
This one for you. Pay attention.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me ask.
That's for the Senate.
Gloria?
Yes.
Did you hear that scratch?
Yes.
I know we could, Gloria.
Right.
She just won.
She just won. Y'all give it up for U.S. Senate candidate and member of the Tennessee 3, Gloria Johnson, is in the building. Yeah. Man, we finally got her. Gloria Johnson, right now, State Rep Gloria Johnson, my colleague. Thank you for being here. We're excited to have you, honestly. Right.
Well, thank you for having me. It's going to be fun. I can tell already.
Oh yeah. So let me start off with this. Gloria. Come on, join in with me, Kojak. My Gloria.
I'm no parts of this.
Things ain't been the same.
Hold on.
Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. Man, look. I was just feeling it, man. I was feeling it.
Which Gloria are you
a
really
lot on the
feeling?
house floor.
Right. Look. When I want to smile out of her, I'll walk by her, not even look at her, just sing to her.
Oh,
And she smiles. It gets her every single
he's thinking
time.
about another Gloria. What Gloria are you really singing about?
That Gloria Johnson. Right. Look, that's what I'm going to say when she gets elected and she ain't in the house with me no more. I'm going to say, things ain't been the same since you went away. Right. Man, look, but hey, I thank God for you. One of the beautiful things about Gloria Johnson is I've never seen her disrespect anyone in all my years that we've served together.
Wow.
Right. And that's a rarity in the Tennessee House, because I tell people, look, we are literally the most dysfunctional family of 99 people, in the state of Tennessee. Real talk. Right.
Yeah, it's a toxic environment. There's no question, but I'm always gonna be professional, and it is what it is.
See, y'all make me want to go up there and be a fly on the wall just to see what going on.
If you want to see a reality show, you should.
Yeah, I want to go.
It's a reality show. But look, Gloria, because I want to make sure we get as much information out as possible and educate the people that are watching. Take us from the beginning. So for the people that don't know you, right? Take us from the beginning. What was the upbringing like for Gloria Johnson?
Well, that's, it does have everything to do with who you are and who you become and what you care about. My father was in law enforcement. And when I was very young, we were living in Jackson, Mississippi, and it was a really tough time in Jackson. It was late 60s, early 70s. And when the KKK was very active in Jackson and in a lot of places, but in particular there. And less than a mile from my house, the KKK one night blew up a Jewish synagogue.
Wow.
man.
And my father called his partner because, I mean, we actually heard the explosion. And he called his partner, went and picked him up, and they had been surveilling some of the KKK and thought they knew who probably was in charge. Went to their place, and 3 of them were just coming back. And so they arrested those 3 KKK members. And then the KKK threatened to kill our family. And so we had to move out of our house for a couple of weeks while they rounded up the rest of the group.
You're watching the Antonio Parkinson Project.
Dang,
And
that's
so-
a heck of a start, Gloria.
Yeah. And then when we did come back to the house, my mom was still nervous because we had a ranch style house and the kids' rooms were on the front of the house. And she didn't feel comfortable with us being in those front bedrooms. So she lined up our twin beds in the hallway. And probably for a couple of months, we slept in our beds in the hallway because she just didn't want us on the front of the house.
Wow.
And so that was my start, seeing what hate can do, how it terrorizes people and damages and kills people and destroys things. And so it was, I learned really early what racism and bigotry and hate can do and what it can look like. And so that's just been a part of my whole life is, having that happen. And then, of course, when I was teaching at Central High School in Knoxville in 2008, we had a school shooting. I teach special ed. We lost a special ed student that day. I'll never forget, the kids were all in the cafeteria having breakfast in the morning. The bell hadn't rung for class yet, so I'm down in my classroom getting ready for class, and I hear noise, and I look out the window, and it's just kids running, screaming down the hill towards my classroom, crying, screaming. They come in, kids that were my kids that were not my students, and just trying to get them calm enough to tell me what happened. It took a few minutes, and then they stayed there until we got an hour clear, until the shooter, who was another student, had been picked up. And so the kids, you still don't feel safe really, but they felt a little better. And then everybody's just kind of in shock, and we called for parents to come and get their kids. So teachers had to stay until the last kid left. And my duty was to be on the circle where the parents picked up the kids. So greeting the parents, kind of talking them through what happened. And, they're so upset and the kids are traumatized. And once you see that happen, you know that we can't let it happen anymore.
And what year was this? Because if that's happening then, if I could ask that, what year approximately?
That was
did this happen?
2008 that happened.
2008. You think it's so escalated with guns right now? That's 2008 that was happening.
Yeah, and at that time, that morning, we had 2 police officers at that school. They were in the room where it happened. They couldn't prevent it. So, the idea that security is going to keep these things from happening is not real, because so many of these instances, security was there and weren't able to do what people expect them to be able to do. And so what my colleagues across the aisle will not understand is the way that we solve this problem is stop guns from ever getting to the schoolhouse door.
Yeah.
They want to bring the gun battle into the classroom by arming teachers. Never a solution. It's ignorant, because you are actually bringing the gun battle into the classroom. You want a teacher with a pistol to go up against somebody with an AR-15 in their face? I mean, you're asking them to commit suicide is what you're doing.
Yeah,
so we need real solutions that do not allow the guns to get to the schoolhouse door. We need universal enhanced background checks. We need safe storage laws. We need red flag laws to keep the guns away from dangerous people.
But I want to go backwards about your upbringing. Now, you said like hatred, you couldn't stand hatred, but do you think being against hatred led you into being a politician, or did you want to be something else? I mean, you said you were a teacher, but I mean, do you think from when you were born, or you just knew you wanted to be in politics? What made you lead you there?
Oh, no, I never thought I would be. Politics, I wasn't even part of wasn't involved in partisan politics. I always voted, and I always voted Democratic, but I was never involved in partisan politics. That didn't happen. I would say that I got my justice bone from my father. You know, that it's just about justice for absolutely everyone. And so that was always in me. And that's probably what guided me towards special education as a teacher, because growing up, I saw a lot of kids that clearly were smart kids, but had learning disabilities or whatever, and I didn't feel like they were getting what they needed. People didn't recognize the potential in some of those kids. And so that's what I wanted to do. And then I got involved in partisan politics in 2008 because I thought after 2 terms of George Bush, we needed something different. And I felt like if I don't do everything I can, it's my fault too. And I had seen Barack Obama in Illinois. Had an aunt that lived in Chicago, and I went there at least 4 times a year. And I'd seen some of the things he had done in the state when he was there, and I was impressed with him. I heard he might run for president. And so as soon as his website was up, I signed up to volunteer.
You're watching the Antonio Parkinson Project.
So that's when I got involved. I said, I'm a teacher. You can have all my weekends. You can have all my holidays. And so I started. They called me in 2007 for my Christmas break and said, hey, could you spend your Christmas break in Iowa at the caucuses doing volunteering?
Hey, I'm from Iowa. Woo. All right.
Well, and I said yes, but then they called me a couple weeks later and said, we think we have Iowa covered. Would you go to New Hampshire or South Carolina? And I said, well, South Carolina's easier, but I'll go wherever you need me. And so they sent me to South Carolina. And since South Carolina was so close, I could just, because I'm in East Tennessee, I could just drive over every weekend. So I did all my holidays and my weekends at South Carolina until the primary. And then I took my personal days off and did the primary in South Carolina. And then I was just hooked. You know, the more you find out about politics, the more you find out what's needed locally. And one thing you see as a teacher is how families struggle. And so, you know, I didn't have that experience growing up, but as a teacher, I saw all of that, and I saw all of this injustice. And so after that Obama election, and he became president, it's like, okay, what do I do now? And a lot of my friends said, Gloria, why don't you become the party chair of the Knox County Democratic Party? So I did that and got involved because we knew there was going to be a fight for health care, you know. And I had a sister with a long-term illness that was losing her health care because she was sick. And her and her husband had a small business. It was tough to get insurance at that time with a small business. After the 3rd brain surgery that she needed, they dropped her from her insurance.
Wow.
And that was at the time you're fighting for Medicaid expansion, and they had passed Medicaid expansion, but it was a year or 2 before the pre-existing condition clause came in.
Right.
And she had been without insurance for about a year, I think, a little over a year, and first got insurance back when the pre-existing condition situation went away. Wow. That got insurance back for her. So you just see how it affects you so much and your family up close. And then they decided to take a teacher's seat at the table away to take away collective bargaining for teachers. And that's when I decided to run.
Wow. This is awesome. We really getting a bigger picture of where you came from. But before this segment ends, I got to ask this, your personal life. Are you married? Do you have children? Before we get out of this first segment.
Okay. I am not married. I am divorced.
Okay.
And I do not have children, and that's been sort of a public thing because I have something called Marfan syndrome. Okay. And I actually did become pregnant when I was younger, and at the same time, I had an aortic aneurysm.
So you almost died.
It's like a hell.
Yeah, I would have died. And that's what my cardiologist said, you know, if you carry a pregnancy, you will die.
Yeah.
And it won't take that long, because at the time, you know, I had an aortic aneurysm, and with that extra pressure on your body, I never could have managed it. So I think about that a lot. When I ran a bill that was like to codify Roe, I told my story.
Yes.
Women should not have to tell their story, but I thought it might influence people to hear that, today I wouldn't have that option.
Yeah, that's
I'd
scary.
have to, I'd be
Jesus.
forced to carry that baby, and there's no question that aneurysm would have dissected. And when I told the story in subcommittee, 3 Republicans cried, but they all voted no.
Oh God! Oh wow!
That's incredibly heartbreaking. And there's so many people. There is so many women rather that are facing those same challenges, those same issues, and having to deal with with these laws that are honestly truly barbaric
They are
in nature. And it puts the doctors, those healthcare providers, in a very precarious situation, right?
Yeah.
And that's the way it is with an aneurysm. It's okay until it's not. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Flo Hyman. She was an Olympic volleyball player, and she died on the volleyball court. She did not know she had Marfan syndrome, and she dissected right there. There's no time. There's no saving anybody after something like that happens, unless it happens to you in the hospital.
You're watching the Antonio Parkinson Project.
But this is the kind of situation, and sometimes people are aware of it, some people not. Sometimes they find out right then. But there are so many situations like that you have to let doctors make those decisions.
Yeah.
You do not need a legislator in your doctor's office to make that decision for you.
Yeah.
And I'm so tired of the lies and disinformation about what is not even a medical term, late-term abortion. No one is decorating their nursery, naming their baby, and then deciding at 8 months to have an abortion.
Yeah.
Those things that happen late-term are horrible medical issues where someone's life is in danger. And we need to be honest about, we need to call them on those lies. I mean, the president, the vice president, my opponent, Marsha Blackburn, said that I wanted to kill babies after they are born.
Oh wow.
That's murder. I'm very much aware of that. And that is absolutely not what is happening in that 7th, 8th, and 9th month. They're horrible medical situations where women and doctors have to make quick decisions to save lives.
What's sad though is this. I remember, because when I was sitting on the criminal committee until I was kicked off, apparently, I'm talking too much, on the committee or calling shit out, right? I remember asking the members of that committee, how many of y'all have actually pushed a body out of your body?
2.
And nobody on that committee could raise their hand because none of them were women. Right? None of them were women.
Right.
But they were all making decisions for women. None of them had experienced being pregnant. None of them had experienced all of the challenges that come with carrying a baby. None of them, to my knowledge, had been raped and impregnated. Right? None of them, to my knowledge, had faced death because they were pregnant. Because none of them were ever pregnant.
Yes.
Because they were men. And so, and I just found it just incredibly, not just disheartening, but disrespectful,
Right.
to be making these decisions and for women. And the last thing I want to say about that is none of them would support legislation that would govern the bodies of men.
Yeah.
I mean, you're exactly right. None of them have ever been pregnant, had a baby, understand anything about it. But it goes a step further and gets so much worse. There's Representative Burkhart, and they are voting on women's bodies, and they don't even know how they work. So one of his constituents was going to have a miscarriage. The baby was not going to survive. And so she had to go to New York to have that miscarriage taken care of to make sure that she didn't become septic. There wasn't something left there. So she has to go to New York to do that. So she goes to talk to her representative, who was Representative Burkhart. And she's having a conversation with him, and she said, and I had to go to New York by myself. My husband couldn't come with me because he had to stay and take care of my 6-year-old daughter. And he said to her, "Wait, you have a daughter already?" And she said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, you can only have a miscarriage on your first
Oh
pregnancy."
my God.
These are the men voting on bills that restrict our bodies, and they don't even know anything about biology or women or pregnancy, and they're making these decisions. That's
I
the
wanna say
craziest
something.
thing I've ever heard.
I want to say something too, because I feel led to say this, and it's not on script. With the right to exercise, I had an abortion. This is my first time like publicly saying this. Okay, oh Lord, look, Parkinson ready clip at the abortion clip, but there was no, I wasn't raped or had any kind of medical issues like that, but I still had the right to choose that. Would I choose it again today? No. You know what I mean? And you already have that cloud over you of judgment. I think they don't know you have judgment over you. And so you don't need your outside judgment, especially like you said, you're not a woman, you don't know anything. And I feel like I made the best, I was led to that decision, not told, but you're already there. And I think also I had a situation which they don't know, may not know either, with I had a tubal pregnancy in my body. So if that law was exercised, I was thinking about when you said, I was like, dang, I didn't even think about that. They had to like inject me to dissolve the child in my tube, or like it would have ruptured and possibly killed me. I didn't even tell you that before.
No.
Could have killed me. Like they're like, we're going to abort. It's called abortion.
pregnancy.
We're going to abort the baby.
Ectopic pregnancies can be fatal. Absolutely.
Yeah, but if that was the case, they could say, no, you just, I don't know what you would do if the baby's in your, what would you, I don't even know what you would do if that was
an
taken away.
ectopic pregnancy does not become a live fetus. It cannot happen. You know, that's why they did make an exception in the legislature for ectopic, molar, and dead fetuses.
Yeah, okay.
But none of those will ever become a live fetus. So,
And that was after the fact, remember?
and that was after. We had to beg for that.
That's scary.
But you're right. It's not just the exceptions. It's about a woman's choice to make that decision in conjunction with her doctor, not in conjunction with her doctor and her representative or Marsha Blackburn.
Yeah.
They are not in it. And I respect a person's right to feel like I don't believe I don't believe in abortion. I'm not going to have an abortion. And if it's a religion for you, I respect your religion and I respect your right not to have one. But you can't use your religion to stop someone else for doing what they make the decision.
And before we wrap this up, I think it's vitally important that this is stated, right? And I had to tell one of our colleagues, Jeremy Faison, this on the committee. I said, listen, I don't know one person, Democrat or Republican, that wants to see a woman have an abortion. Not one person. Now, but I know thousands of people that say, hey, that is a decision that she is to make between her family, and her doctor, and her God. And that's that, you know.
Right.
And so, you know, it's not like Democrats are parading around encouraging people to have abortions. That's not the case. You know, we just want the government not to be making the decision for women. But look, y'all don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. When we come back, we're going to talk about Gloria Johnson and Tennessee 3. So hit that subscribe button. You're watching the Antonio Parkinson Project.
Hey, grab a backwood and roll up. Grab your cup and let pour up. They didn't want us round it first, but now they act like they know what. Hey, but they show love, yeah, we show out when we show up. I don't even do the liquor, that shit might make me throw up. But we turned up, this the after party. Shit grabbing on my body. White girl got a bottle in the club, and that going all it. Turned up in a wreck the party. We just brought out everybody. No, we got our have some fun. We at the after party.
Hey y'all, it's Michael Kaya and it's the Antonio Parkinson Project I'm on. They have fun around here. They got chicken and everything. If you really want to get the word, know what's going on in your neighborhood, in your community, in your blackness, you need to tune in to the Antonio Parkinson Project. And ain't even in the projects. Okay, so tune in. We love you. Keep God first.
You're watching the Antonio Parkinson Project.
Welcome back to the Antonio Parkinson Project. I am Antonio Parkinson. You're watching the fastest growing visual podcast in the Memphis market. Y'all, let's give it up for that one more again, man. Look, we got Gloria Johnson on the show. She's gonna bring us another meal, right? Another million views.
Bring them in, Gloria. Bring them in.
Tell you, man. Look, give it up for my lovely co-host Angelika Geli Woods is in the building.
Yes. Y'all just missed the honcho moment, though. Y'all missed the honcho moment. But yeah, it was Hood Kim. Y'all may have got it. It was hilarious, though. So,
Oh
yeah,
my
I'm
OMG,
done,
boy!
I'm
That,
done,
you know,
I'm
I
done.
just get beat up over here. You know, and I go to Kojak for my just to
He ain't
help,
gonna help
right?
you. He ain't gonna
And
help
Kojak does man, he doesn't help a bit. But he is my DJ. Give it up for my DJ Kojak in the building. Yeah. He ain't worth the plug nickel when I need his support. When I
Nah,
need
you
him
on your
assistance.
own. You on your
Women jump on me,
own.
but
Yeah,
but
we all
is
numbered
it.
today, man. It's only
Yeah,
Right,
we
right,
women in
here.
this place. You see how many women in
I
this
see, I see, man.
I'm quiet.
Yeah.
I
Shout
know
out
when
to
to shut
Darren
up.
Hall. Darren Hall in the building. What's up, Darren? We see you, babe. Thanks for being here. Yep. She finally made it. Yeah. And so also, you know, I want to welcome again. She is Gloria Johnson. She is running for U.S. Senate in Tennessee. Let's give it up for Gloria Johnson in the building. Yeah. We got Gloria Johnson to the capital of Memphis. Baby, watch you wait. Raleigh, welcome to the capital.
Happy to be here.
She probably
Yeah. So look, let's jump into this too. You know, so of course, you know, many people know Gloria Johnson from being one of the 3 members of Tennessee 3. You know, those members were 2 of the members were kicked out of the Tennessee legislature, and she was not. And we're going to come to that, but let's run that video. We're creating a circus. And the eyes of the entire world right now are on this chamber. But we're off the top. From the very beginning, we are creating a circus. And it's embarrassing. This is embarrassing. The world is watching us. And they know that what just happened was unfair. They know that this didn't happen when Jeremy Durham was being expelled. He was given a shot to defend himself. But we are biasing all of the members in here with the way we're handling this and the way we are conducting ourselves. Let's be the leaders of our state. Let's lead, and let's lead with fairness. We as members here, all of the members, none of us deserve to be embarrassed worldwide. We are being embarrassed. Wow. All right. Okay. Yeah. So, you know, that was honestly an historic moment, you know, in the Tennessee legislature. And Gloria, take us from the beginning, from that day. Let's start, or wherever you want to start at on that. Okay.
Yeah, it started a few days before. We noticed that we were not, since the families started coming, they started showing up at the Capitol by the thousands. We had students, we had parents, we had grandparents. There were folks that care deeply about the Covenant community, but it expanded to families from Memphis came, and families from Knoxville came, and people across the state came to stand in community with those Covenant families and wanted our legislature to talk about gun violence, to do something.
But go back to Covenant. So everybody, let's take it from there. Covenant,
Okay. Shooting happened. I happened to be sitting in Government Operations Committee and got a text that it was happening while I was in Government Operations.
And we're talking about Covenant school shooting in
school
Nashville.
shooting where 3 students and 3 staff members lost their lives. And, it's also important to note that 2 staff members did have a gun. They were 2 staff members were armed. Nobody talks about that much. So don't pretend as if there wasn't some type of security there. There was. And so after those traumatic and tragic deaths, because I think, to my knowledge, this is the first time it happened in a private Christian school. I think that what people need to understand about gun violence, and certainly with the former president being shot at recently, it affects everyone. It doesn't matter how wealthy you are, or how poor you are, or how powerful you are, or how little power you have. None of us are immune from gun violence.
You're watching the Antonio Parkinson Project.
Exactly.
And so it strikes a chord with everyone, and that's why so many people showed up. And that morning I had gotten there early because I wanted to talk to the families. I wanted to hear from them before we went on the floor at 9. And so I got there, and I cannot tell you how many moms came up to me and said, "I dropped my kids off at school before I came. I hope they're safe when I pick them up. I hope when I go get them, they're there. When I meet them at the bus or when I go to pick them up, I hope that they are safe." And they're with tears in their eyes, most of them. And this is how these folks were feeling, and that's why they were showing up by the thousands at the Capitol. And we kept getting our mics cut or not getting called on when we wanted to talk about it. And in the morning, we typically have welcoming and honoring. They let one person who was from that district do welcoming and honoring, and that's great. But they wouldn't call. They got rid of the rest of it, where normally they call on any member who raises their hand. And they did not call on the members that morning. And we wanted to acknowledge the folks who were there, because all we wanted to do was say, we hear you, we see you, we care about what's happening, and we want to work on doing something. And we were not allowed. They did not have the regular welcoming and honoring that morning. Then we thought, well, we'll try to talk about it when we're talking about a bill, save a minute or two to do that. And the folks who got called on, they got their mics cut. For me, they never called on me. And there was a bill, a real important bill for education that I wanted to speak on. I stood and raised my hand the entire time. They refused to call on me. And it was at that point, we had talked about, we need to do something. We need to address the crowd. What can we do? And we just talked about, between bills, walking to the well and trying to say what we wanted to say, because that's the only way it was going to happen. And, between the three of us, we represent 210,000 people. And the 70,000 people that I represent wanted me to talk about gun violence. And that is the same with Rep. Jones and Rep. Pearson. And so it wasn't about us. It was about lifting the voices of the people we represent. And we have a First Amendment right to do that.
Not just that, but you're sent there to do that.
Yeah, we're sent there to do that.
But
I mean, that's why there's a lawsuit right now, because it really did remove our First Amendment rights, in addition to those of the 70,000 people that we represent. And so we decided to go to the well after that bill. We went to the well.
Explain the well, so because a lot of these
that's where you
folks-
go up front to run a bill or to speak on something.
Yeah, the podium up there.
That's There's a podium up at the center. It's probably 20 feet from my desk, because I'm right on the front row. My two colleagues were standing at my desk, and we just decided, let's just go. And so we walked the 20 feet to the well and started speaking on behalf of the folks that were there and that had gathered there, the thousands who were at the Capitol. And within, I think, like 12 seconds, they cut the mic and they called for a recess. So we had a little miniature bullhorn, because in that giant room, when you don't have amplification, nobody's going to hear you. And so we had that mini bullhorn and used that to speak to the folks who were there and let them know that we cared about why they were there. We heard them, we saw them, and we were going to do everything we can to do something and take action against gun violence. And the total time we were up there might have been around 6 minutes. And then we walked off. And for that, I thought what we had done was broken a rule about speaking without being called on. But then I found out that's not even a rule that we have. And so I'm not really sure what the rule was that we broke. I don't think we broke a rule. We might have broke decorum, but we didn't even break a rule. And so that night we went out to eat, came back, and we found that I could not get to my scooter. I could not get to my car because they had locked us out of the building and out of the garage.
Some petty people that work there.
Yeah, they're very petty, childish, retaliatory. And so then we thought, okay, that's our punishment. We can't get in the building. And then the next workday, which was Monday, it was about 30 minutes before my committee, government operations, and I start to head down there, but then I get a letter saying that we've been stripped of all our committees. It's like, okay, I guess that's the punishment. Well, then that Monday night we have floor session. I'm walking to the floor and somebody gets a hold of me and says, "Gloria, I think they're bringing resolutions to expel you all."
You're watching the Antonio Parkinson Project.
how did you feel right there in that moment? How did you feel in that moment when that happened?
I was like, just how can they do that? I was speaking for my constituents. They wouldn't let me speak. And so, sometimes you have to get in necessary trouble. You have to get in good trouble.
Yeah.
And I was not going to not speak for the people who sent me there. That's why they sent me there. And so I knew there might be some consequences, like maybe committees or something like that. Never in my life did I think of expulsion, which in former Tennessee history has always been when you've broken an actual law. Right. You literally have broken the law. And so I was shocked that they were going to try to expel us. And so we, they thought that there was no investigation. No one looked into it. Nobody asked us anything. They just said these things were going to happen. And didn't really inform us a lot of the process because I don't think they knew, they didn't really have a process. And so it was just so outrageous and retaliatory. And the thing was, like, people were saying now, oh, you did it for attention. Or you did. There was no attention. When we went to the well, that might have been a one-night story, a 24-hour story in Nashville, and that would have been it. The story, where we got the attention was when the Republicans wanted to expel us for doing our job.
Right.
The attention didn't come because of us going to the well. It became because the Republicans just lost it. Because when they don't have control, they do not know what to do. And that is why they don't let us speak so much of the time, is they want to control. So what we saw at that time were Republicans. They totally lost the message. They were so discombobulated. It was, it was a horrible time for me because I think I'm going to lose my job. The night before the hearings, I'm in my office, and I get a visit from the ethics lawyer and the head of HR because my two colleagues are, they weren't even 30 years old yet. They were younger. I'm 62 years old, and I've told you a little bit about health issues that I have. The ethics lawyer and the head of human resources came to my office and said to me, Gloria, if you resign right now, you can keep your health insurance.
Oh, wow.
But if you're expelled, you will lose your health insurance.
Wow.
I never knew that.
Wow.
I never knew
I
that.
tweeted it as soon as they did it. The ethics lawyer and the head of HR, and they threatened me by saying, well, if you resign right now, you can keep your insurance. But if you get expelled, you will lose your insurance. And I knew I would lose my insurance, but there's a whole lot of Tennesseans who don't have insurance because of the Republicans. And I was not going to make that decision. You guys take my insurance if that's what you need to do. But this is all dead wrong.
Did you get any other threats, like, death threats or phone calls?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a group that they were in Nashville, the Tennessee Active Council, something like that. I don't know. They actually put together a video targeting me and Rep Jones and a couple of other people. Really scary stuff. But one thing that taught me from my childhood and from that incident in Jackson is that I will never bend down to bullies. Never. I will get in a bully. Bullies are nothing but cowards.
Right.
Yes.
And this is what they are. They are bullies, and they will not make me afraid. After the former president was shot at, I had a news person call me and say, well, are you going to change your events now? Or are you going to do them online? Or are you going to... I was like, no, my events are on my webpage. I went to all 95 counties. It was public where I was going. I wanted people to come, and I will not change what I do. And I'm not going to be afraid. I'm not going to let these people scare me because bullies are cowards, and I will not let them win.
You're watching the Antonio Parkinson Project.
Man, that's
What about your colleagues? Let me ask you, what about your colleagues? How many stood up for you? Did any of them throw
that's
you
a
under
really
the
good
bus or something like that? They stand up for you?
Well,
Did they hide?
Hey, you on Antonio Parkinson Project? You know I'm covered.
You know that
Like
heat.
Kojak, because this is gonna clip. Ask that question again.
Did any of your colleagues throw you on the bus or hide and be like, man, she's in trouble now, let me bag up? Or did they come through for you?
no, they stood up for us.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they stood up for us. If you see the hearing, I'm not sure who all spoke, but a lot of people stood up, and
Yeah.
a lot of our colleagues stood up and spoke for us. I'll be honest, there were some that wanted us to apologize, and that wasn't going to happen. As a matter of fact, after we left the floor and we went into the clerk's office, the three of us to talk, and Rep. Camper was there for a minute. And but when she left, I said to them, I was like, y'all, we are not apologizing. We are not. Let's just make a pact right here. Because I was not going to apologize. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't think it was the right thing to do. And I will never apologize for doing what's right.
Come on now, that's what I'm talking about.
Yes,
Hey, look, yeah. Hey, don't go anywhere because when we come back, we're going to talk about this U.S. Senate race and who she's running against. And so hit that subscribe button. We'll be right back. You're watching the Antonio Parkinson Project.
Yes.
Guessing to find you. I always in the mood. I told you, you always wanted something like this. Hold on to you.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Elise Neal. You are watching the Antonio Parkinson Project. Stay tuned.
You're watching the Antonio Parkinson Project.
Welcome back to the Antonio Parkinson Project. You're watching the fastest growing visual podcast in the Memphis market.
that.
Let's give it up one more
Believe
time
that.
for that, man. One more time.
We have to change the sound.
Yeah, and obviously my lovely co-host is really enjoying this show. Y'all give it up for
Up back here, y'all.
Yeah, give it up for Angelika Geli Woods in the building.
Miss Gloria
Yes,
has
indeed.
jumped up. Y'all better go vote. I was telling her in the back, she has receipts for everything that she's advocating for, okay?
She absolutely does.
Receipts. Listen to the show. Receipts for everything. That's why I'm hyped.
Yeah.
So, hey.
Yeah, and give it up for my DJ. That's my DJ, DJ
Yeah.
Kojak in the
Yes,
building.
DJ.
Yeah, DJ
Look at
Kojak
that.
is going to scratch it up 4 times for this U.S. Senate win.
Man,
He got his good white church shirt on.
Oh,
doing her thing up
yeah. Yeah, and y'all give it up for Gloria Johnson, state
on.
representative now, but U.S. Senator later. Yeah, give it up for her.
Speaking
Yeah. So Gloria, man, it seems like these segments go by so fast because this conversation is so interesting. Now, I served with her, and some of the stuff I didn't even know was going on in the background. Real talk. Yeah, but look, let's talk about this U.S. Senate race, man. This race is so almost cursed. This race is so important to the state of Tennessee. So it's Gloria Johnson versus Marsha Blackburn. So tell us about your race for Senate and walk us through, what led to the decision to actually run for U.S. Senate.
Right. And I started back in the beginning of 2023. Some folks were talking to me, asking me about running for U.S. Senate. And, we weren't sure there was a path to victory. We're talking about it, though, because the idea was we needed somebody at the top of the ticket in Tennessee to run hard on democratic values, on making sure people have a living wage, making sure people have access to affordable health care and affordable prescription drugs and a great public school education, access to child care. We have child care deserts in Tennessee now, and things like paid family leave, which lifts families up. And so we're thinking if we have somebody at the top of the ticket in Tennessee talking about those things, it's going to help us flip state house and state Senate seats, because that's what we've got to do. We are seeing democracy erode in Tennessee faster than at the federal level. And so we've got to flip some seat because we have some Republicans who are drunk on power and are running roughshod over regular Tennessee families. And so that's when it first started talking about it, but didn't really know if there was a path to victory. And so later, as we progressed through session, more and more people are asking me. Then the Tennessee 3 thing happened. And, we do have some national notoriety or whatever. And I just kept talking to people that I respected and about running. And one of the people I talked to was Stacey Abrams. And when I talked to her, she thought it was a good idea. She also said to me, it is important that you go everywhere and that you go to the places they don't expect you to go to. And so that is when, after I made the decision, I decided I was definitely going to go to all 95 counties. I think nobody has done that in a while, or not really done that. They'll say, my opponent, Marsha Blackburn, will say she's going to all 95 counties, but it's mostly closed-door meetings with county officials or a chamber of commerce. But it's always closed doors, and it's not open to the public. My tour stops of the 95 counties were listed on my website. And we call it a diners and dives tour because we wanted to go where people felt comfortable. Like we didn't want it just to be Democrats. We didn't want to have it at the Democratic Party headquarters because we wanted everybody, independents, Republicans, and Democrats, to be able to come and feel comfortable. So we just did local restaurants where people come anyway, you know, in that town. And so that's what we did. And people were so grateful.
I was just going to ask that, you know, how the
They
response
would tell us. The response was like, thank you so much for coming here.
No one Republicans and Democrats, though?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And then people would walk in, like I was in a rural county around the Cumberland Plateau area, an older couple, not older, but probably in their 60s, came in and said, you know, we're lifelong Republicans. We've never voted Democratic, but we are voting for you in this election.
You're watching the Antonio Parkinson Project.
Wow.
And so when people say that, I always ask why. And they said, as a matter of fact, I've never donated to any candidate, but we've donated already to you twice.
That's awesome.
And they said it's because they were evangelical Christians.
Wow.
And they didn't feel their party was following their faith, which I thought was really interesting.
Look at Parkinson's face. You took him off guard with that one. He like,
Yeah, and they had already donated to our campaign twice, and it was so wonderful to talk to them and to talk to people from the other side of the aisle that showed up. One woman in Jefferson County, she was so grateful when she came in. I'm just so excited to meet you. She said, me and my husband are lifelong Republicans. He's even more conservative than I am. And I said, well, what, brought you to our campaign? And she said that I have watched we sat on the couch and watched all three hearings from start to finish. We watched all three hearings. We didn't turn it off. We sat there and watched the entire thing. And she said, when it was over, my husband turned to me and said, I'll never vote for a Tennessee Republican again.
My goodness. Wow.
that is amazing.
And even though, and she talked to me, she said, I disagree with you on the abortion issue, but there's no way we're going to vote for a Tennessee Republican after we saw the racism and the misogyny. And so it just really warms my heart that people are putting country and human rights before party, because I think it's so important. And at the kickoff for my race, we had 50 Republicans there at the kickoff, mainly because of gun violence and because of Dobbs. And that's why we are getting Republicans and independents to our campaign. So I think that people are really going to be surprised. A lot of times they will say, a Democrat can't win in Tennessee. And this is not the race that Marsha Blackburn won in 2018. Demographics have changed since 2018 in Tennessee. They've gotten better for Democrats. I'm not saying it's huge, but Marsha Blackburn won by around a little over 200,000 votes. And here's what we know in Tennessee. There are 300,000 Democratic voters who haven't voted the last few cycles because they feel hopeless, because they feel like we vote and nothing changes for us. And so what we are doing is getting out, knocking doors, making phone calls. We're getting in touch with all of those folks and letting them know what's at stake this election and how it will definitely affect them. and getting those people to the polls, because if we get those folks to the polls, we win this U.S. Senate race. Not only do we win this U.S. Senate race, we flip down ballot state House and state Senate seats, which we so desperately need to do.
Yes.
That's why voting up and down the ballot is so important. And I am so thrilled that Vice President Harris is running for president, because what I have to tell Tennesseans about her is that day of the expulsion, after we were expelled, that evening, we got a call that she was clearing her entire schedule
Yes.
to come to Tennessee.
I remember that. Yep.
That speaks
Yep.
It's
volumes.
not easy to clear a vice presidential schedule for the next day.
Right.
She cleared her entire schedule, came to Fisk University, met with Rep. Pearson, Rep. Jones, and myself, and also the Covenant families and all of that. So the fact that she dropped everything to come to Tennessee shows how much she cares about us, about doing something about gun violence, and about fairness and rights and all of those things. So I think it's just a testament to who she is that she came to Tennessee. And then as an educator, I have to say, choosing Tim Walz, I don't ever get my VP pick. I don't think anybody I wanted ever got chosen in the past. But this is like, oh my gosh, I got my pick.
Oh, was it he your pick?
Oh, he was
Yeah.
my pick because he's a former educator.
Yeah, that's right.
And,
That's right.
And so it's so critical in this time where they're trying to put vouchers everywhere. And we know it's a national plan that we get somebody who understands that public education is the bedrock of democracy. And it's what lifts all of us and gives us all the ability to succeed.
You're watching the Antonio Parkinson Project.
So I'm just so excited about that top of the ticket. But people need to understand that what happens locally is so critical. And so you've got to vote Democratic all the way down the ballot.
Okay, speaking of that, Marsha, you brought up speaking of Marsha Blackburn
Yes.
voting. What would you, if you were in the elevator riding up, all right, and you just had, I said elevator speech, you should know,
Yeah.
that, and you had to say the difference between Marsha and Gloria. And why you? Because some people may not even heard or may not know anything, but why you? Why vote for you over her? What would you say?
Right. Well, I think that laying out the contrast is really important. So what I would say is Marsha Blackburn voted against the Violence Against Women Act. She voted against equal pay for equal work. She voted against IVF and contraception access for everyone. She voted against the child tax credit, the enhanced child tax credit that cut poverty almost in half for children.
That's big.
She
for
voted
Memphis.
against capping insulin at $35 in a state with one of the highest incidences of diabetics. She voted against negotiating drug prices for seniors. She voted against the PACT Act to protect veterans. She has voted against the military exploring the use of cannabis for military folks who need
PTSD.
it. She voted against that. She doesn't vote for Tennesseans. All those things that I just named, I would support those things.
Wow.
She voted dozens of times against the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. And that means she wants to go back to a time where pre-existing conditions can keep you from getting insurance. And one of those things is being a woman is a pre-existing condition. You used to, regular insurance didn't cover pregnancy. You had to get an expensive rider to cover that in most situations. So she wants to take us backwards. She makes the most racist, xenophobic, bigoted comments on social lies and doesn't use any facts. She is misinforming Tennesseans, and it's shameful. But you know what she just voted against?
I was going to bring it up. I'll let you say
She
it.
voted against funding for FEMA 2 days before the hurricane.
We talked about that. Yeah, we talked about that
2
last
days before the hurricane, she voted no on those dollars.
Right. And Tennesseans are suffering. If you have not seen, some of the suffering that's taking place with Tennesseans,
It's
From the-
horrible. They are devastated up there. And she voted 2 days before against that funding and made it seem as if President Biden was late to Tennessee with the funding. He was late because Bill Lee didn't ask for assistance until 2 days after all the other governors. They asked on Wednesday before. Governor Lee should have asked on Wednesday before it happened. Instead, he asked for a day of prayer and fasting. He didn't ask for assistance until there were folks standing on top of a hospital being rescued in Unicoi County.
Can I say something, though?
Let me just real quick just
right
respond to that about the governor, because he did go on video, and you know, I'm not his cheerleader or anything, but he did go on video and say and dispel all of those rumors that they were trying to put out, saying that President Biden and the money and the resources were not coming in, because once he asked for it, it started coming in. But you know, and that was, you know, but you know,
Yeah, but what I was talking about was all these other folks like Jeremy Faison and Marsha Blackburn, who were blaming it on the president for being late to the party.
Yeah.
He was not late to the party.
and saying that FEMA gave all the money to immigrants and all of this crap, and you know, but
those are all lies, and she is putting those lies out there. And you know what? Tennesseans deserve better.
You're watching the Antonio Parkinson Project.
Yes.
Tennessee families, hardworking Tennessee families, deserve someone that's working for them, not lobbyists and corporations. She's like, I think, number 2 in taking big pharma dollars. She's taken almost $2 million from big pharma.
which means what though to the layman?
That's what. So what it means is she voted against negotiating drug prices for seniors. She voted against capping insulin. She wants to keep prescription costs high because she works for the pharmaceutical companies. The same way she's voted against every gun sense bill that's come across her desk, because she's also one of the top receivers of NRA dollars.
But I want to go back to the situation with the hurricane. You know how you see those memes where it says, if you're looking for a sign, here's a sign? They're the sign. Whoever listening, it's 2 days before, and she votes, and that happens. If y'all don't need a sign not to support her, that's the sign right there. If you don't do that, it's a smack in your face. I might send you a virtual smack. There's a sign right there in your face. I mean, that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just think about what I think about so often is women and girls. The state of women and girls in Tennessee, with their presidential candidate is an adjudicated rapist with 34 convicted felony counts. Their vice president believes that women should stay with their abuser. Said it on camera. Believes in a federal abortion ban, and believes that women who don't have children shouldn't have a say in society. All of these things on tape. He says that women without children are the most insane people out there. And then, so to round out this trifecta, that's the president, the vice president, and then we've got a U.S. senator who voted against the Violence Against Women Act, who voted against access to contraception, voted against IVF, and wants a federal abortion ban. Imagine the state of women and girls' safety and health under those folks. It is terrifying and barbaric, as you said, to think women will be expected to live this way in a state where you're going to force a 10-year-old to carry a pregnancy. We're talking about giving more rights to a violent rapist. They have the right to choose the mother of their child.
Right.
But a woman can't choose not to have her rapist baby, and a child can't choose not to have her rapist baby in a state where 43 counties have no OBGYN. 43 counties with no OBGYN.
What in the world?
More than a third of the state.
That's almost half the counties.
crazy.
More than a third of the states
95.
have no delivery room. So we're talking about being an hour, forcing someone to carry pregnancy. A child is 2 times more likely to die in a pregnancy than an adult. We have one of the highest maternal mortality rates, 3 times that number for Black women. And so we are forcing people to carry pregnancies. We are asking them to put their life at risk. And we don't have the care. They could be an hour to an hour and a half away from the care they need. And since Dobbs, we have great medical schools in Tennessee. We had docs that came here to do their residency in OBGYN. Since the Dobbs decision, we have a 21% drop in residents for OBGYN.
Explain the
that's
Dobbs
because-
decision to the layman. So they
Okay,
understand.
yes,
Yeah.
they took away our right to have an abortion, to have abortion care.
Okay.
So since they made that decision, and we have a trigger ban in Tennessee, and women can't get abortions in Tennessee, basically, what happens then is we have a 21% drop in people coming here to do their residency to be an OBGYN. And what we know about residents is more than 50% of them typically stay in the state where they do their residency. They meet folks, they get asked into a practice. So imagine how few in a couple of years, we probably will have more than 50% of the counties in Tennessee that don't have OBGYNs because they won't come here. They can't get the certification they need from doing a residency in Tennessee. They have to split between 2 states because they have to learn how to perform all the care, which means DNCs and abortion care and all of that. And if they can't get that here, they have to double up with 2 states. Now, imagine you're going to do your residency. Are you going to choose the place where you have to move and do 2 states? Or are you going to go where you can get it all done in 1 state?
Right, exactly.
So they're putting women and girls at great risk to their lives.
Yes.
So look, we have to wrap the segment up, but look, so make your last pitch to these voters. You know, early voting is right on us. Tell them why, there's an urgency that they should, vote for Gloria Johnson.
There is an urgency. Lives are at stake here. You've heard us talk about it. People are vulnerable. Black communities, brown communities, LGBTQ community, women, seniors, the disabled are all at risk under these guidelines. You've seen what Project 2025 does. It basically defunds public education. 180,000 teachers across this country will be immediately lost. There is so much at stake here, and this election is critical because Democrats believe that everyone who works a hard 40-hour work week should make enough money not just to survive, but to thrive and be able to go on a vacation once a year with their family, educate their kids, and retire in dignity. And that's starting to happen in Tennessee. We've got the Blue Oval City. Volkswagen decided to unionize. When Tennesseans see what those good union jobs look like and what should be happening for families, everybody's going to want that. And I cannot wait because everybody deserves that. And then, access to affordable health care and affordable prescriptions is critical. If Tennessee's not healthy, we're not going to be strong. We're not going to have the workforce at full speed. And educating every single child, every kid, no matter their zip code, should have a well-resourced classroom instead of defunded public education, which is what is happening right now. And we need to have access to childcare. You can't make $7.25 an hour and pay $15 an hour for childcare. That math does not work.
$3.50 a week.
I don't think Republicans math well.
The math ain't math.
It really isn't. So access to childcare, paid family leave, developed nations have this. What are we doing?
You're watching the Antonio Parkinson Project.
Powered by Black Market Strategies.